Ah, we have somebody online. Good show. Who have we got on today? Good afternoon, Joe. How are you? You're my single viewer at the moment. It's early days. I've only just turned on. Well, this afternoon, no official London calling. I just wanted to give kind of a sneaky preview of a little intro that Josh Pipe Grump put together for me. But perhaps we'll see if people join. I'm really excited about it because I think I'm going to have a little bit of an identity change to the channel. I've been talking about it for a while. So it's been a bit of a long time in coming, but this will be a bit of a sneak preview. So he's done me a little intro video, so kind of a clip, which probably get tweaked a little bit, but I just wanted to get some feedback from people. So I see that we have 3 people watching. Anybody else care to say hi, identify themselves? I suppose it is a little bit difficult because usually when on Saturday nights people expect it, and if I do put a reminder on, then people know that I'm going to come on. But when I do one just off the cuff like that, I guess it is a bit presumptive to expect to get too many viewers. But I just wanted to get a little bit. Harriet Herfer, hi, how are you? Well, Joe, the intro. Harriet, I've been meaning to ask you, are you in the UK or in America? Yeah, you're in America, aren't you? Because I think I've seen your videos. How are you finding life as a presenter? Yeah, I got that. It's in the US. I kind of answered myself on that one. It's so hard to keep track of all the different presenters. I'm forever embarrassing myself with having conversations with people and forgetting their names, as Josh Pipe Grump will attest. Oh, 98, wow. How long have you been, how long ago was your first video? Wow, that's pretty good going. Although nowadays, with the YTPC the way it is, people do shout outs and stuff. I'm not a big person on shout outs, but I'll try to remember to give you a mention on my next video. And yeah, you'll be on to 100 very soon. You'll have to start thinking about a giveaway, I guess. No pressure, obviously. Everybody does as they wish, I guess. Yeah, he's a good man, Ghost Cop. Okay, so I can see there's a few people on now. We've got about 8 people on. So I'm gonna give you a preview. If more people come on, I might show it again. It's only a couple of seconds anyway. I'll get it on my screen. And just let me know what you think, because this isn't the final version, but your feedback would really help me. So here goes. Oh, hold on, I've got to get the speakers on. One sec, take my headphones out. My headphones out. Sorry, wrong mouse. Sorry, wrong mouse. Sorry, wrong mouse. Oh, I can see. I just realised what was going on. It's I had another screen open, and it was just kept on playing back the whole time. Sorry about all the racket. Anyway, I hope this will come through okay. It's a bit of a. Let me increase the screen. There we go.
This is London Calling.
That was it. I'll do that once again.
This is London Calling.
So, what did we think of that? Hey, George. So far, what I've asked them to do is to take out the Bosco Piper UK, because that's going off my identity. It's a difficult name, and people, it's just a hassle. It's just a hassle. So I think what we're going to have is just London Calling, and then fading in with Simon, and perhaps have some swirly smoke coming up, because there's nothing there which represents smoking at all. So that's really what I was thinking of. See, originally I'd asked him to do, or I had in mind, I didn't ask him, I had in mind to do something more cartoony, a bit like his one. But I actually think the way he's done it much more accurately represents my kind of style, you know, kind of the English kind of presentation. And I think it's just so much more appropriate. I think he's done a good job there. Yeah, so that's that. So I think that's the way we're going to go. I hope the channel is going to be available, the name. It's unlikely to be available, but I'll have to do some kind of adaptation of London Calling, maybe London Calling with Simon, something like that. At the moment, smoking a Ramon Allones French Regional Edition. Nice cigar. Hey, Seawave Piper, how you doing? This is a bit of an impromptu sneak preview of a little intro that Pipe Grump made for me. I'll show it again shortly, because I think George hasn't seen it, and you haven't seen it, Seawave. So I'll show that again in a minute. What are you guys smoking at the moment? George, we've kind of settled on the actual name. I think I'm going to try and get the channel to be called London Calling, or as close as possible to that. And I'll show you that intro again. Hey Tim, I'm just showing off this new intro which I'm going to be having on the channel. It's not the final product, but we're Pipe Grump, Josh, he's done a little intro for me, which is very, very nice of him. It must have taken him a lot of time, but I just wanted to get feedback from people. this is what he's done.
This is London Court. This is London Court.
Shortcut to mushrooms, nice. That's a nice little. I've got some of that somewhere. I should really give that a go again. Yeah, it's he's done a good job there. So I've asked him to take out Bosco Piper UK because that's what I want to get rid of, because it's too much of a tongue twister. So I've asked him to just put London Calling and then fade in with Simon, and perhaps with some swirly smoke in the background as it fades out, something along those lines. It should coincide very nicely with my 2K milestone. That's coming up really, really fast. It's quite unbelievable, really. I never really expected to get to this kind of level. I never expected to be much of a presenter. When I started, I was just, I was extremely hesitant about the whole thing. But it's been an interesting journey, a very encouraging one. And thankfully, I stuck to my guns about the presentation style, because I've questioned it so many times. But you know, there seems to be an audience for it, and yeah, so I'm delighted with it. Well, the name Simon will still feature in there, so it will be London Calling with Simon. Absolutely, Tim. Yep. Thank you. It does add a little bit of mystique to it, although that was never the original intention. But now I find myself defending that mystique, because originally, right in the beginning, we're going back a couple of years, I had some identity theft issues, because my first intro video, I actually was in the picture, believe it or not. My first entry video was, hi John, my first entry video was around, I think it was around December 15, something like that. And I remember, I can still remember sitting there in my conservatory downstairs. In those days, this room that I'm in now was occupied by one of my boys. And hi Jim. And that conservatory is kind of a lean-to to the house, which I built together with a builder that I'd worked with over the years. And I used to be quite handy. Now I'm just too lazy. But at the time, I remember I wired up the whole thing myself, put in the whole power system. And it was an interesting project. But anyway, that was the room that I had for smoking in those days, right at the beginning. And I can still remember sitting there. There was some old units in the background, which really looked quite horrible and ugly. So I remember covering over with a photographic background, just to make it a plain colour. And that was the first video. And I remember feeling really, really uncomfortable. I can really sort of empathise with all, you know, first-time presenters. You're quite self-conscious. You don't know what people will think of you, and you kind of not subconsciously, you're actually looking in the screen to see how you look. And then when you watch it back afterwards, you look at yourself looking at yourself, and it's kind of a little bit weird. And so that was my first video. But I had some issues at the time with identity theft, and I decided at that point, I didn't know much about the YTPC at the time, and I didn't know much about YouTube and about just generally being careful online and all that kind of thing. Obviously I knew the basics, but I wasn't a big YouTuber at the time. And so I did that video normally with myself in the video, but then after that identity issue, I decided no, I'm not going to do it. So I started doing videos just focusing on the pipes and tobacco, and that was what I made the raison d'etre of my channel. And I said that, I think, on the next video, or whatever it was kind of a reintroduction, if you like. And I said that this channel is not going to be about me, it's going to be just about the product, just focusing on the product. And that's what it's been since then, and it's gone very well. So I think that I'm going to do, I'll have to think of a competition of some kind of interesting giveaway, but something that's not too challenging. I do find, that increasingly people try and find a really quirky sort of topic, not because they're trying to be difficult, it's just because all the basic topics have already been covered. But there's also a whole host of people making it very, very easy, like Tim, you've just done recently, where you've also given the opportunity for viewers. I've always tried to promote to viewers as well as presenters. I think that's important. So I think I'll do some kind of combined celebration of the change of the channel identity, the 2,000 subscribers, and we'll do some kind of giveaway for both presenters and viewers. So it should be interesting. Just got to come up with something which works on those levels without being too challenging. Jim, the most important thing is really what I've discovered is that you see a lot of channels where, well, you don't see a lot, it's not true, but you do see some channels come and go where they're kind of trying to project a persona which isn't actually them, and you can see that they're not very comfortable at it. There is one or two of note, which I'm not going to mention, where from day one I've sort of, I wouldn't say I've squirmed a little bit, but I've not felt that this was the person who was actually behind the camera. So the important thing is just to be yourself. That's the most important thing. And there were times along the way where, I was getting criticism sometimes. I remember I went through a really difficult patch with sound, and people were complaining forever at the low level of the sound. And so at the time I was almost considering giving it up at the time. But somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody said, just be yourself, because there's a potential audience of billions of people, and however quirky you are, however unique your channel is, there's bound to be thousands of people who find your channel interesting. And he was absolutely right, because I remember when old Berg, when he started presenting, he used to present with a big long, like a Santa Claus beard, and that was quirky. I think that was fun. He now doesn't, but at the time he did, and it was quirky. That was his thing. So you're always going to have. I remember the first time. I mean, I'm going off piste a little bit here. I'm not a tattooed person. I don't have tattoos. I think they're very arty and they're fantastic, but it's against my culture, and it's just not something that I do. See you, Jim. And I remember the first time I saw Pipe Tree. I don't know if you're on, Tree, and just being quiet, but if you're on, hi. But I remember the first time I saw him with all his tattoos, with his 2 arrows on his head, and I just thought, very interesting. That's the diversity of the YouTube pipe community, and it's just everybody has their own kind of niche. Everybody has their own kind of way of presenting and being who they are. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how quirky and how far out it is, because there's an audience for everybody, and that's the ultimate truth. Because it might take time for that audience to find you. That's possible. It certainly took me a while, but that audience is there. It just takes time. You've got to be patient and just stick to your guns and be yourself. Yeah, absolutely, Harriet. I remember that very first video that I did. When I was in the video, I just I almost felt like I was having an out of body experience. It was just, it was weird. It was just weird. It was surreal. That's a good word. It was surreal. I just felt like I was doing something, but it wasn't me. You know, I didn't know who I was talking to. I didn't know what I was trying to achieve with the video, and I didn't know. I felt this pressure to entertain or to be of interest, and that's the problem, and that's what you have to overcome. You've got to overcome that need to please people, because you're wasting your time. Because if you please one person, you might displease 10 others, because you're dealing with millions, potentially millions and millions of people, and everybody has different interests. So, Joe, I remember your first videos. I really do. I really, really do. And again, you know, you've stuck to your guns and you're very natural. You know, I must say, your videos these days are extremely natural, and that comes across. When people are not natural, that comes across as well. So that's the best advice I can give to people, is just be yourself. And you know, you're going to get the haters. You'll always get that. You'll get people, the trolls. You'll get people. I just got a message literally a minute ago on a video, which is going back maybe a year. So I was having trouble with cigars getting bitter. So for a while I put tape, sellotape, or Scotch tape as it's known in America possibly, around the head of the cigar, because the wetness was making it bitter. And I was during my journey of getting used to smoking cigars, and I did that for a few months and then didn't need to do it. So this is, you know, we're going back a long time, and this is a message which literally just came up a minute ago. So you can't handle some bitter taste, and you make cigars and tobacco reviews, and you do something so horrible like wrapping that plastic over the cigars, and you want us to follow your channel? You know, people have got nothing better to do than to be negative. I'm not asking anybody to follow my channel. And what I always still find extremely sort of funny is that people look at a video which is a year old, and they have no idea of the evolution of your channel. And rather than looking at a video which is a year or two old, which I think is important to do as well, you know, it's entertaining, especially if there's a particular cigar or pipe tobacco that you want to know about. But to make an assumption that nothing's changed in a year or a year and a half, it's just, it's a little bit mindless. That's what I think anyway. And one thing I've learnt as well is that when you're making comments on people's videos, that the comments really need to be constructive, not critical. So you can give the same message over, still tell people and give advice to people, but without, you know, getting personal, without being negative in a personal way. You know, if somebody wants to say that's interesting that you use tape around your cigars, why do you do that? No problem. I get those kind of messages all the time, and I explain myself. But people automatically make a judgment, and they just completely slate you and sort of dismiss you based on their own personal perceptions. To me, all that does is project that person's character, that person's negativity, and that person's jealousy. In a lot of cases, a lot of the bad comments that you get, a lot of the trolling that you get, is so much about people's own inadequacy and their own jealousy of what you have. And my channel has never been about bragging or showing off or anything like that. But some people take it like that because they don't have the ability, or they just don't have it. You know, they might see a nice pipe and think, well, I haven't got such a nice pipe. This guy's obviously an idiot. I'm going to slate him. I'm going to troll him. And that's most of the time people just mirroring their own inadequacy, their own lack of self-esteem, and their own jealousy in a lot of cases. So if you're presenting, forget the world. Whilst you're presenting, forget everything and just focus on the topic that you're got at hand. So if you're talking about a product, you're doing a yabo or whatever it is, just focus on the yabo. Just talk about the products. And if somebody's giving you a gift, be effusive, you know, be grateful, but in a way which is demonstrating what you've got in front of you, rather than trying to pander to your audience, because your audience is going to be so diverse. Your audience is going to be across a huge spectrum of society internationally. So you're never going to be able to please everybody. So you might as well just please yourself. And when you do that, there's be a percentage of people that you please as well. And that's all you can hope to do, because it's impossible to please everybody. Impossible. Right, what was supposed to be a couple of minutes of a preview of a thing has turned out to be a little bit of a rant. Anyway, so I think that's basically that, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining. It was just a short one. I've had an email back from Josh. Let's see what he said quickly. Where are we? Okay, cool. All right. Let's just see those last comments. Thank you, Harriet, for joining. Tim, you've got some Cohiba Robusto. Cool. Very good. The Tubos, it depends what you're planning to do with them. Just not that I'm here to tell you what to do or give you advice, but you might want to take them out depending on what you're planning on doing with them. But generally speaking, I find that cigars, unless you're talking really long-term storage, probably in both cases I would remove them from the tubes. And I do keep the tubes, either if I'm sending some to people so it's good for protection, or if you're going outdoors with them until you light them up, it's good to store it in there. And there's usually a little bit of a cedar spill in there just to help give you some cedar flavors, and you can leave that on the cigar and just put a bit of tape around it to hold it on there, but put it in your humidor. Even if those cigars, just by the way, Tim, even if those cigars do have a bit of age on them and they're ready to smoke, I would still leave them in the humidor for a week or two before you smoke them, because the travel does have an effect. I don't know why, but it does. It does affect the balance of the cigar. They seem to be, it's unbelievable how Cuban cigars are so delicate. They do seem to be very temperamental and very delicate. So they do need a bit of TLC. Anyway, ladies and gents, I can actually honestly say ladies and gents, now that Harriet is on. It's very rare actually, there's so few women presenters, so it's a real, it's an honor and refreshing to have women presenters. We should really try and encourage to have more. Well, I suppose there's not that many women smoking pipes or cigars. There are, but not that many. Yeah, pipes and spirits, that's, you know, your videos are, you seem very relaxed. I saw you, was it you that put up a video about a Philip Peterson today? Alright, because I can get confused sometimes between you and Pipes and Beans, is it? Yeah, so I saw that. I did try Pulips early on, but I didn't really get on with them. But then again, that was a long time ago, so with all things Tobacco, it's always worth revisiting stuff. But yeah, trying to rein in my expenditure, but nevertheless still succumbing once in a while. I did yesterday as well. I succumbed to a bit of a deal on a Stanwell, on an estate Stanwell, an unsmoked estate Stanwell. So that hopefully will arrive in a couple of days. We'll see how we go. Alright people, thank you very much for joining. I'm going to wish you a very pleasant afternoon. Enjoy the rest of it. You ordered the 9mm Wilsham. Oh wow, that's a good move. If my experience is anything to go by with this, the Pipe Club of London, I'm sure you've seen it already, but this one, you can see it's already had a fair amount of use. This one really smokes great. The other Meerschaums that I've had, they've been quite small, and I'm just wondering whether that's got anything to do with it, because I did not enjoy those, but this one is phenomenal. Anyway, it's time for me to go. Thanks Tim, thanks Paul. Paul, I'm sorry you came in on the tail end, but do listen to the rest of it, because it was although it wasn't planned, Hyde Briar Blues. Thank you very much. If you ever come across a Castello 9mm, please let me know, Briar Blues. I know you're big into Castellos, and I've only just come across your channel in the last week or so, and I'm slowly making my way through your videos. And you picked up some lovely estate pipes in your last video, phenomenal pipes. Anyway, Castello 9mm, that's something which I'm really hankering after one day. I suppose I could buy one and convert it, but I suppose it's going to be better if it was an original. Anyway, I've been trying to say goodbye for a good few minutes now, so I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you everybody for joining, and I'll catch you on the next one.